All right, let's talk about something that makes a lot of people groan. ISO 27001 documentation. It just sounds like a huge pile of paperwork, right? A total bureaucratic headache. But what if we stopped thinking about it like that? What if we treated it like an engineering problem? One that, believe it or not, we can solve with a tool we are literally using all day, every day.
I mean, you know the drill. You've got version control chaos, files named final underscore v2 underscore final, chasing people down for approvals, unsigned PDFs just floating around in some shared drive somewhere. It feels completely broken, especially for tech teams that need to move fast. It's a huge pain point, and it's why audit season can be so incredibly stressful.
But here's the thing. It really doesn't have to be like that. The solution isn't some new, fancy, expensive piece of software. It's Git. Yeah, you heard me right. Git. The same system you use for your code is, without a doubt, the most powerful tool you have for building a clean, transparent, and totally auditor-proof documentation system.
So, here's what we're going to do. We're going to quickly look at the old, painful way of doing things. Then we'll bring in Git as the modern answer. I'll walk you through a workflow that auditors will love, show you how to automate accountability, solve some of those classic documentation headaches, and finally, wrap it all up into your bulletproof audit defense.
So first, let's just quickly revisit the nightmare. You know, the old way. We're talking about files named policy underscore v2.3 underscore final underscore final underscore I swear .docs. It's emailing docs back and forth, just hoping someone hits reply with approved. The whole system is built on manual work, which means the history gets lost and you're filled with this cold dread when an auditor walks in and says, "Show me exactly who approved this change on this date."
Okay, enough of that. Let's talk about the modern answer, Git. And the real breakthrough here is a mental shift. We need to stop worrying so much about the format of the document, like whether it's a Word doc or a PDF, and start focusing on the function of the system managing it. When you make that shift, you start speaking an auditor's language.
And this right here, this is the absolute core of it. Auditors don't care if your policy is written in Markdown. They really don't. What they care about is control. Can you prove who made a change? Can you demonstrate a formal review and approval? Can you stop unauthorized people from changing things? Well, guess what? Git, with its commits, pull requests, and branch protection, is a system built from the ground up for exactly that kind of control.
And what's so cool is how perfectly Git features map directly to specific ISO 27001 requirements. Take Clause 7.5, which is all about documented info. Well, a central Git repository is perfect for that. How about protecting that info? That's what a protected main branch is for. And the real kicker, Control 8.32 on change management. Every single pull request is a flawless, self-documenting record of a change being requested, discussed, reviewed, and approved. It's beautiful.
So, let's build on that foundation. Using these built-in Git features, we can create a workflow that gives us a rock-solid, easy-to-follow audit trail for every single change to every single document.
The process is going to feel totally natural for any developer. First, you create a branch. Isolate your work. You make your edits, commit them, and then, this is the most important part, you open a pull request. Think of the PR as your digital change request form. It's where you explain why you're making the change. Stakeholders get tagged as reviewers, and their approval is captured right there, forever. Then, once it's approved, you merge to main.
And that's really the punchline of this whole workflow. That merge isn't just a technical step. That is the official publication. It's the release event. It means the main branch always represents the current, approved, and compliant version of your documentation. Simple as that.
And look, this isn't just about making our lives easier. This workflow systematically enforces the key controls that are part of your information security management system. The pull request is your change record. Every commit gives you accountability, tying a change to a person and a timestamp. That weird-looking commit hash, that's a perfect, unforgeable version ID. And best of all, you can set it up so the author of a change can't approve their own work, which nails the principle of segregation of duties.
Now, we can make this even stronger. We can totally eliminate the human error of having to remember who's supposed to review which document. We can automate accountability with a super simple but incredibly powerful feature that's already built into platforms like GitHub and GitLab.
It's a little file called code owners. Don't let the name scare you. It's just a plain text file that lives in your repository. And its only job is to tell the system which people or which teams are in charge of which folders.
So check this out. That first line is basically a rule that says, hey, any change to any file inside the docs/security folder has to be approved by the person or team named @product_owner. Same thing for the infra folder. That needs the @DevOps lead's sign-off. It's just a simple rulebook.
Right, but a rulebook is pretty useless if you can just ignore it. So how do we make sure these rules are actually followed every single time, no exceptions?
Okay, this is where the magic happens. You go into your repository settings, you find the branch protection rules for your main branch, and you check one little box. It says, require review from code owners. That is it. The moment you do that, the platform will physically block the merge button on any pull request until the specific person defined in that code owner's file has clicked approve. This turns a simple text file into an ironclad, auditable control. Auditors absolutely love this.
Okay, so we've got the system. Now let's talk about some of those tricky gotcha questions that always seem to come up during an audit. Let's see how our Git-based system handles them like a champ.
First up, let's get this straight. The difference between an author and an owner. Git automatically tracks the author. That's the person who literally typed the changes in a commit. But the owner is the role that's ultimately accountable for the document. I love this way of putting it. The author answers the question, who typed this? But the owner answers the question, who's in trouble if this is wrong? ISO really cares about ownership, so you still need to explicitly define that role right inside your document.
All right, here's another one we've all been through. It's time for the annual review of a policy. You read it, everything still looks good, and no changes are needed. So, do you have to make a meaningless dummy commit just to update the last reviewed date? It's noisy, and it feels like you're just doing it for show. There is a much, much cleaner way. Look, auditors want real evidence, not just busy work. So forget the fake commits. Instead, you can just state in your procedure that the merge date of the last pull request is the review date. You can also use PR labels as extra evidence. Or, even better, set up a recurring task in Jira or GitHub Issues to remind you to do the review. If no changes are needed, you just close the ticket with a comment. The closed ticket is now your proof of review. No noisy commits necessary.
Now, what about small teams? An auditor might raise an eyebrow if the product owner is both the document owner and the final approver. This little block of text right here is your golden ticket. You put this wording directly into your ISMS policy. It acknowledges the reality of being a small team, but shows that you have what's called a compensating control, that mandatory PR review by at least one other person. This shows maturity and proves you're thinking about risk.
So, let's pull this all together. When the auditor shows up, you're not desperately digging through shared drives. You are calmly and confidently walking them through a robust, transparent, and mostly automated system of control.
This table basically sums it all up. Git gives you author traceability and version control for free, right out of the box. No extra work needed. But for full compliance, you have to actually use the pull request review feature for approvals. That's on you. And you also have to remember to manually add the owner role and a classification label inside your documents. You combine what Git gives you for free with these simple manual steps, and you have a totally bulletproof system.
And really, that brings us to the final thought. We already apply this level of control, this level of rigor and traceability to our code. We do it because we know it leads to better, more reliable software. So the question is, isn't it about time we applied that same powerful engineering mindset to our compliance?